Hello everyone. If you have a third, fourth, or even a fifth grader struggling with spellings, this video is for you because we are going to break it down and help you guys make progress fast. I'll be sharing 5 tips on how you can encourage your kids to spell better and keep it as a lasting practice.
I'm also including this free PDF so your kids can practice my quadrant method. If they want, they can make their own groupings too.
Hi, if you're new here, my name is Aparna. I've been a senior software engineer at many tech companies and now I'm homeschooling my kids. I use engineering principles to homeschool and I break problems down into small pieces just like all engineers do. Today we are tackling the problem of spellings. So the first thing you can do to improve your child's spellings is set your expectations. We're talking about English spellings here. So expecting a child to become master at English spellings is like expecting somebody to learn 6 languages in 2 months because English is such a melting pot of different languages, French, Latin, German. It's got a lot of influence and that's why all the spellings have so many exceptions. So be very, very patient. It can take a long time to achieve mastery. So in that time period, if your kids are fumbling and faltering, know that it's absolutely okay. That's supposed to be natural and at their pace. Also, think about it. Spellings are getting more and more obsolete to remember. If we think about the core of the child and what their talents are, spellings are just a tool. Just like this camera is a tool. I could be sharing the same message with a lower quality camera and you'll get the idea. The same way, spellings are tools, they are not the end product. So if your child is writing really well, but the spellings are not up to mark, that's okay because what we want them is to write creatively and have fun while doing it and not worry about spellings all the time. So anytime your child is writing, whether you're a teacher or a parent and you're just focusing on those incorrect spellings, know that it's going to do more harm than good because we are so primed to reading things on the internet, books. We just see perfect spellings everywhere. But think about it. There were spell checkers used. There were highly paid professional editors used before publishing those books. We can't have that same expectation when our children are writing. It's like expecting a baby to start riding a bike. So first we set our expectations and then we go from there, trying to understand the psychology of what happens when a child is trying to spell something. Next, this is so obvious but absolutely overlooked. Read to your children every single day, not twice a week, not you got busy in other things. Even if they're going to school, 1 page a day, but read to them every single day because spellings are nothing but a repeated practice of literacy. The more you read, the more they are going to come across these spellings and they will be doing better in future. I've been reading this book, Help My Kid Hates Writing. This is more about writing, but also I think this is a philosophy book. It says the same thing, that we got to set our expectations right and make it a fun task for kids instead of a chore. So they'll be more interested in bringing their creativity out instead of just dreading writing, paragraphs, spellings, grammar, punctuation, everything. And in this book, the author mentions that a couple of 100 years ago, multiple spellings of the same word were totally acceptable. Shakespeare was spelled in these 3 different ways. Same even today, if you think about it, the UK language system uses COLOUR for the spelling of color, but the American system is COLOR. So if your children are phonetically aware, which means they know the sounds of the letters of the alphabet, they are doing a good job connecting those sounds and creating their own spellings. Should not be discouraged. It's just something that the child's brain has to do over and over to understand what their brain thought was the spelling and compare it to the real spelling. So as long as they are able to make these connections, now it's your job to group things into different groups so it's easier for them to even understand sight word spellings. Which brings me to my next point. Here I'll write down an example of one of the very common spelling mistakes that most kids make and how grouping them into these 4 different groups can help the kids understand that some words are going to be spelled one way and others another way. And then you can bring this information to your reading sessions. Try to remind them of, oh, look, we did that word in quadrant 1 of our comparison chart, and here it is. This is how you spell. Let me give you an example. So let's try to make sense of the sound A. So in the English language, you can do A so many ways. And here, these are the 4 ways you can do the sound A. These are the different words that can be formed, and they all use the A sound, but the A is spelled A-Y, A-E-I, E-I-G-H, and A-I. If you break things down into groups like this, it'll be much easier for children to understand spellings. One exercise you can do with your children is write a couple of examples and have them think and guess where these words go. The exercise of trying to guess which quadrant the A sound lays in will give them a little bit of practice, and as they read more and more and see words written in a book, their mind will start placing it into the right quadrant. I also like to use a technique called spaced repetition. What that means is that once we've done this exercise, read some books, and written down more words in these quadrants, we're going to repeat this exercise in certain intervals. For example, if we learned this today, we're going to do this 2 days later, then 1 week later, 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 6 months later, and so on. If you space the intervals at which brain is learning hard things, it's going to retain it for a much longer term. So this way your kids can have these spellings completely solid. Now, the spellings eventually are going to disappear. We are always typing, we have spell checks everywhere. So don't worry too much about this. Just show them the process of breaking down this problem and solving it. This is how they learn to learn. And eventually they'll be able to apply this to other areas of their lives. Spellings will get better too, but focusing on just one tool and discouraging our children because they make mistakes is the exact opposite of how children learn. Now, another way you can make their spellings better is by playing lots of games. We play this game called Spelled, and it's nothing but a deck of cards with different levels of spellings. Each card has 3 spellings of the same word. 2 are incorrect and 1 is correct. And you don't even need to buy those cards. Just grab a whiteboard and use a pen and then play a game of spelled. For example, which word can be spelled easily and misspelled easily. The same thing, you could do the quadrant and then play spelled with it. So for example, you can do rain, rain, and rain. Here, there is 1 correct spelling and 2 incorrect spellings. This is the back of the card. The front of the card is just the image of the word that you're trying to spell. So you can first make the image real quick and then do the back of the card. If the child is able to answer right after looking at the image, they get 5 points. And if they're not able to answer it, then you can write the spellings down right over here. If they choose the right spelling, they get 3 points. So you don't even have to buy the card deck. If you want to, I'll leave the link in the description box below. But this is perfect for them to understand and play a game of spellings if that's how they learn. We've done games for every single concept, almost everything that we've ever taught to our kids, and they absolutely love these games. So get creative, think about the problem, break it down into small parts, and your kids will have fun. So I wanted to make this video because I've heard so many people talk about spellings. The next one will be about reading comprehension. So stay tuned and subscribe. If you want to know how I homeschool my kids using engineering principles, click on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.